This episode of Inspire AI podcast is sponsored by Exponent 21. I keep hearing the same thing from business leaders lately. We're doing the work, but leads are harder to explain. Traffic is down, attribution feels fuzzy, and the old answers don't really fit anymore. What's changed is how people search. Instead of clicking links, people are asking questions, and AI is answering them. Tools like ChatGPT, Google's AI-powered results, and Perplexity are shaping which brands get mentioned, referenced, and remembered. Exponent 21 specializes in AI SEO. They help businesses understand how to show up consistently inside those AI-generated answers across questions about their industry, their services, and their brand. What stands out to me is that when people ask AI tools, who's leading in this space? Exponent 21 and its leaders are often referenced near the top. That comes from doing the work and shaping how this new search environment actually functions. To understand what this shift means for your business, visit exponent21.com. Welcome back to Inspire AI, the podcast where we explore how leaders, builders, and communities can stay thoughtful, adaptive, and prepared in an AI-accelerated world. This is a continuation of my engineering series where we're exploring various new skills and circumstances affecting the software engineering community. You see, over the past few years, most conversations around AI have focused on one thing: generation. You ask yourself, how can AI generate code or images, products, analysis, content, decisions? And the acceleration has been extraordinary. Tasks that once took days now take minutes. Workflows that required teams can now be prototyped by individuals, and entire applications can emerge from prompts. Beneath all of that acceleration is a much more important thing. It's every time the cost of generation falls, the importance of evaluation rises. And I think this may become one of the most defining economic organizational realities of our time. Intelligence is abundant, but judgment is scarce. And that's what we're exploring today. Taking a step back, we see historically creating information was expensive. Writing software was expensive. Producing analysis, expensive. Generating designs, expensive. Creating media, expensive. Human expertise as the bottleneck. But now that AI is changing the equation, we're entering a world where generation becomes abundant. And when abundance arrives, scarcity moves somewhere else. And this pattern shows up repeatedly throughout history. Think about when manufacturing scales, logistics become critical. When information scales, attention becomes scarce. When communication scales, trust becomes fragile. And now, when intelligence scales, judgment is the new constraint. The problem we all have to grapple with is, can we trust what was generated? That is the new challenge, because generation scales faster than verification. It's an asymmetry most organizations are still underestimating. These systems can produce outputs at enormous speed, but the evaluation remains slow, nuanced, and deeply contextual. When AI generates thousands of lines of code, strategic recommendations, legal summaries, financial analyses, hiring assessments, healthcare documentation in seconds, determining whether those outputs are correct, safe, aligned, ethical, that requires heavy judgment. And judgment does not scale at the same rate as generation. Not nearly. So there's a dangerous imbalance. Organizations are able to create way more software, content, and decisions than they can possibly evaluate. So that changes our prioritization. Now that generation is cheap, verification becomes infrastructure. So why is evaluation a strategic capability? It's because for years, many organizations treated evaluation as secondary. something reactive or operational, maybe even compliance related. But in AI native environments, evaluation is central to competitiveness because organizations that succeed will be the ones creating the most trustworthy systems. And trust is harder, way harder to build than generation. Anyone can generate content. Fewer can validate consistently. This is where new forms of engineering and organizational capability are emerging. Things like AI governance, observability systems, benchmark design, hallucination detection, red teaming, model evaluation, adversarial testing, human review workflows. Those are your new concerns. They're now operational functions. Maybe even new job families are emerging. In other words, evaluation is moving from the edge of the organization to the center. In my last episode, we explored the 5 layers of the future engineer, and one of the most important layers was the evaluator. I believe this layer will become massively more important over the next few years because engineers increasingly won't be measured by what they can create manually. They're being measured by what they can validate, what they can govern, what they can align, and what they can make trustworthy. And that's a profound shift in professional value. Think about it. Historically, technical prestige often centered around production capability. Who can build the fastest? Who can ship the most? Who can write the most elegant systems? Etc. But in AI native environments, the highest leverage is coming from the judgment, the discernment, the systems oversight, the risk detection, and the strategic evaluation. And that makes builders of systems less like manual builders and more like systems auditors for intelligent infrastructure. And I've said this before, when AI systems become deeply embedded into organizations, small errors can scale very quickly. A hallucination at scale is not a typo. It's an operational risk. And one of the most important things leaders need to understand is the trust compounds. When AI saturates your environment, trust becomes one of the most valuable organizational assets. Eventually, every company will have access to powerful generative systems, and the tools themselves are becoming commoditized. But organizations will need to differentiate based on reliability, governance, accountability, consistency, safety, and judgment. Can your systems be trusted? That's your new strategic landscape. And honestly, I think that many leaders are still operating from outdated assumptions. In earlier software eras, they optimize for speed, but speed alone, without evaluation, is creating fragility very quickly. And that fragility scales faster in AI native systems because the automation is amplifying its mistakes. So what are some implications to think about? I want to expand the conversation beyond engineering into leadership. I say to my team all the time, even if you don't people lead, you're still a leader. You just have to see that in yourself, and you have to apply the same mechanics, leadership concepts across everything you do. It's how organizations thrive. And within organizations, evaluation is not just technical, it's organizational. Who defines accepted risk? Who owns accountability? Who reviews the generated decisions? That's you. Who creates the governance standards? Who determines escalation paths? Who decides when humans remain in the loop? That's you too. These are leadership questions. Think about that. And when organizations that don't have mature answers, their AI adoption is really just experimental. When AI becomes operational infrastructure, this is what happens. Evaluations become inseparable from leadership itself. Leaders must increasingly need to manage intelligent workflows, automated recommendations, human AI collaboration systems, governance structures, trust frameworks, and continuous evaluation pipelines. So in other words, the leader is becoming a steward of intelligent systems. They no longer get to think of themselves as leaders of people, and that's a very different responsibility. I think there's also a deeper philosophical transition happening underneath all of this. Over the past several years, technological progress primarily rewarded optimization. Faster systems, more automation, more scale, more output. But we got a new problem at hand. What happens when output is no longer scarce? Suddenly, discernment matters more. This is where a bigger philosophical shift comes in. Curation, verification, interpretation, and wisdom matters more. One of the most defining characteristics of the leader in the next few years is going to be the ability to guide intelligence responsibly, because intelligence alone does not guarantee good outcomes. And as I wrap up, I think one of the biggest misconceptions about AI is that it primarily changes production, but what it's really changing is responsibility. Because as systems become capable of generating enormous amounts of work, analysis, decision support, humans become increasingly responsible for determining what should actually be trusted. And the organizations that thrive in the AI era are not going to be the ones with the most powerful models. They'll be the ones with the strongest evaluation cultures, the strongest governance systems, the clearest judgment, and the most trustworthy leadership. And that's where judgment is becoming the new premium skill. That's it. So until next time, stay curious, keep innovating, and keep developing the kind of judgment that helps intelligence become truly useful.